I was in college in the 1960s, and probably because the war in Vietnam was going on, there was a lot of talk about peace. I remember the song, Give Peace a Chance. There were other slogans about peace. People started using the peace sign, or maybe the drawing of the circle with the three-pronged sign in it. Interestingly enough, at about the very same time, in the church, because of the Second Vatican Council, which was earlier in the 1960s, the sign of peace that we celebrate before communion was restored. It had been part of the Mass in the early centuries and kind of died out, really. So it was restored as part of Mass. So what we found going on in that time was that in the social world, in the political world, and in the church world, everybody was talking about peace, giving each other the sign of peace. We talked a lot about it. We weren't always so peaceful. And many times we didn't really know what we even meant by that. But I'd like to suggest today that peace is a decidedly spiritual, human, biblical, Christian virtue. It is something that we have to take to heart. We have to take seriously. And we should not be at all surprised in the gospel passage that Deacon Tom just read. It's from the farewell discourse. Jesus is giving his farewell words to the apostles in John's gospel. And he basically saying, I'm going to give you the peace. Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. I hope those words are familiar to you because we say it at every single Mass right before the sign of peace. Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives, I give you peace. So what is this peace all about that is so significant that Jesus chose to talk about it in the farewell discourse? It's right after the passage where he says, I'll send my Spirit, my advocate, to guide you. So peace is important. It's of God. And yet we're still grasping, what does it mean? I think we make a lot of mistakes. First of all, I think for some people, peace is just defined in the negative. Peace is not violence, not being at war. There's truth to that, but I would hope peace is more than that. For others, we talk about peace as being rather internal. And I think we've all met peaceful people. There's a serenity in them, and that's very attractive. So I'm not going to put it down. But I think peace goes beyond that too. Real peace is internal, and there is that serenity. Real peace is also external, and there's harmony. Peace is a way of looking at the world, but also a way of living. Perhaps the biggest mistake we make is that we think peace is passive. In other words, yeah, I feel good. I'm relaxed. I'm at peace. That's not so bad, but that's not the peace that we're talking about. Peace is a gift. Jesus says, I give you the gift of peace. But like any good gift, we have to relish it, take care of it. Somebody gives you a beautiful rose bush for your yard. You don't just say, well, that's nice, and then plop it down. We have to tend to it. So how do we tend to the gift of peace? Pope Paul VI. Paul VI, he was the one who followed John the 23rd, our patron. Paul VI, in 1972, so 50 years ago, he delivered a famous speech, and it has to the United Nations, and the line was simply, if you want peace, work for justice. Now, so I'm introducing a new word. Peace is kind of hard to grasp. Justice is even harder to figure out. If you want peace, work for justice. And what that means is a deep reverence, a deep respect for the rights of every person individually, and a deep respect for the good of all. And I think we find a tension between those two, trying to respect the individual and the good of the many. And it's not an either or. We have to do both. And that's our Christian heritage, to respect both. And that is justice, and you have to work at it, and you have to respect all that's going on, and it is active, it's not passive. Peace then becomes the end result of that, which leads me to last weekend, a week ago today. We've heard about it during the week. The funerals have started to take place. 10 people were shot last Saturday in Buffalo, New York, with what apparently was hate motivated. Justice says we have to address questions of hatred. And we might think, well, that's another city. That was Buffalo, New York. But if you look on the map, Buffalo, New York is simply on the other end of our own Lake Erie. They get their source of water from the same lake that we get our source of water. We are connected. And it's a realization that we could all be facing the same type of thing. And the danger is to hate the hater. But when you hate the hater, then hatred has won. The prayer of St. Francis of Assisi: make me a channel of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. That's justice. And it's work. We have to work on ourselves to say we can get beyond hatred. We have to work on ourselves to say we don't want to allow hatred to flourish in a good country. We have to work at it. That is justice, and the end result is peace. Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Peace is so much more than just a simple sign. Peace is a new way of living.